I
All
know.
right, well, let
It
me.
said 11 minutes to update, and I was like, why did I push the button? Because I had like 5 minutes to get into class, and I was like, this is ridiculous. Um,
No problem.
but on the journey, I mean, I just think that like having someone to check, like the accountability piece, I really needed big time. Um,
Mhm.
and I kind of know that about myself anyway.
Okay.
And I tried the 777, and as a stay-at-home mom of three, that was a disaster. I get like 1 minute intervals
Okay.
in the morning and afternoon. So I'm a big personal development like reader.
Hmm.
So I also like I downloaded the 5 a.m. club and kind of like I've been listening to that while I'm doing chores and stuff.
Hmm.
So I've started getting up earlier and kind of taking a good like 30 minutes to
That's a
drink my
good one.
coffee and just
Okay.
get out some writing. And you said that in the video from last week too,
Yeah,
to
you
like,
can come up with a specific time. The thing is
yeah,
consistency, right? Everybody, it's not whether you write 777. That was for the busy person that really don't can't find I hear people say, I can't find the time. I say you got to make the
yeah,
time. Then to make the time is that, right? But whatever you connect it to. Now, if you ever heard of Atomic Habits, right? James
yep.
Clear,
I love that
James
book.
Clear says you attach it to something that you already do. And if you attach it to your morning coffee, attach it to your morning walk, attach it to your exercise or yoga, then it will happen because the accountability is built into what you already have in the role that you already are moving in. So that's a really good way to do it. Thanks, Courtney. That's great.
Yeah, yeah. So that's been super helpful for me because I can kind of like get into a rabbit hole. And I find that I write like I'm better with those slightly longer spurts to like
Okay.
really get into
Kind of get the
like a groove
groove
dynamic.
flow.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
I get like a whole flow going.
Cool.
And then it's almost like an interruption. The
Like,
kids come
I
down.
can't
I'm like,
stop.
wait, yes. I'm like, don't talk to me.
I'm
Nobody come
I'm
up to me yet. I gotta
I'm
get this out.
creating. I'm
Yes,
creating.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
cool. All
So that's been great.
right.
Um, and then I really like, so at first I was going to dive right into like the ideas I've had swimming in my head. And then I've decided to continue with the Fall Pumpkin Sadness
Yeah, I
book
saw
because
that.
I
I
just,
thought that was pretty
yeah,
cool. I was like, oh, she took this one. Okay.
I did. I don't know why. I just, after that first day, like it all came so easy. And then when I started trying to write an outline for my other book, like it just wasn't clicking
Hmm.
out the way I wanted it to. And then I went back to the fall one and it just came out.
Awesome.
So I was
Yeah.
like, well, this is the way, I'm
Go
not
with
going
what
to
was
fight it.
flowing, right? You said I'm gonna go with the
Yes.
flow. I'm gonna go with the flow.
Yes.
So that was what was coming through. And sometimes you'll get
Yep.
streams of consciousness, everybody. Look, streams of consciousness are amazing because when you're in a stream of consciousness, there's nothing out here that gets in the way. It's all coming in to you in a spiritual way. And I don't know how spiritual you are, but I'm more spiritual than anything else because I tap into the resources of the universe, whatever's around me, right? Sounds, thoughts, tastes, smells, all the different senses. So that's a great way to put it, Courtney. Appreciate that. Hmm.
Thank
So you
you.
want to share some of
Um,
that with everybody?
so,
Hey, little
what do
poochie
you,
pooch.
so,
We
that
got a
puppy's
visitor.
so cute.
We got a little puppy.
She's very spoiled.
What's his name? Deborah?
Pippi. And
Pippi?
this Pippi, like Pippi Longstocking, this is our
Uh-huh.
cuddle time, and she's not
Oh,
understanding why
I'm
we
sorry.
cuddle.
We are interrupting cuddle time. What is going on with the
Yeah.
dog? Okay. Hey, Pippi. I remember Pippi Longstocking. So, oh yeah, go for it. Look at this cover. This is so interesting to me. Go ahead,
Oh,
talk
that
to us.
is.
Um, so I kind of picked this one because where I ended up going with the story is Carrie kind of hits rock bottom. Well, she's already sort of like headed down the rock bottom tumbling hole of drinking and staying up too late. And we find out in the book that she was fired from her job in June and she's battling depression and she doesn't have a whole lot of help. And of course she like hates everybody that she runs into. And it's sort of going to be about her battle with alcohol and depression. And she ends up passing out in a bathtub, and her neighbor in her new apartment calls because of the water leaking into their apartment. And then she has to spend a week in the hospital. And anyway, just all kinds of storyline about like waking up and going home and finding the 22 bottles of wine that she drank that weekend. And then still insisting that she like isn't an alcoholic, making friends, going through the holidays. And it sort of ends with her finding a friend through a nurse that she met at the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And she starts going to AA meetings with her, and she insists on telling working for me. And so Sarah's like, okay, like let's start, instead of going to a meeting, let's go to the gym for an hour. And so she starts finding a like new way to work through what she's feeling and everything that she's going through. And then Sarah leaves and she's kind of become this like crutch. And that's when she ends up drinking wine again and then realizing how awful she feels the next day. And she gets a message from this girl that she runs into in the beginning of the book, who she like completely is awful to, and she hates her for having her life together. And that girl ends up messaging her job opportunity, and Carrie realizes that Serena was kind of looking to her like, hey, I know you're really good at this, like this would be great for you, and never really was rubbing in Carrie's face like, I have this perfect life. And Carrie kind of realizes like she doesn't have it all together either. And they become friends. And then Christmas starts springing up. So it's sort of like she goes through the fall in this like awful spiral of just like depression in life and the wrong kind of crutches with alcoholism. And you learn a little bit about her history and her life and like what got her to this like spiraling point. And then by Christmas, she's actually starting to let go again and realize how much better off she is.
And that's when she let go of John, right? Like she tells John.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she runs into John and is like, you know what? I'm better off without you. And that all happens at like Christmas time. And her mom's this like super hippy dippy. So like right now she's in September and her mom is making her come to this family dinner. And they're doing this like hippy dippy solstice ritual, which is funny because I actually do those. Like I'm kind of the mom in this story.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a piece of, I'm sure it's a piece of you in all this here, right, going on. I said, wait a minute.
Little pieces everywhere, right? I mean, you have to write from what you know, always.
You write from what you feel.
Yeah.
You write from what you know, and you write from what you feel, yes.
Yep. And then by the time they reach the winter solstice ritual, Sarah comes with her. And it ends like my last outline bullet is on the longest night of the year, Carrie finally embraces her darkness, which opens her up to take in the light.
Yeah, I love how you wrote that, you're embracing the darkness so she can open up to the light. You know, that alone is a huge thing, right? Because we all get told, you know, stay away from the darkness, only play in the light. But we have to embrace the darkness so that the light can emanate from us. And I love that visual imagery that you put in there. And this, everybody, one of the parts of your assignment, I used a simple Jack and Jill up the hill and then what happened, right? To give you the idea of how you take a story through a story arc and then how you have a climax and how you have a, you know, a decision or whatever you decide. You can have it end or you can have it cliffhanger to the next story, right? And so what Courtney's going through is her entire, you know, outline that she created, which each one of these can be a series. Each one of these can be a story in itself or just the chapters of a story. Now, when she first starts, or you sort of starts, you might do a short story on all of these pieces. But then you get to the point, like in the, go back to this embracing the dark. On the longest night of the year, Carrie finally embraces her darkness, which opens her up to take in the light. That could be the beginning. And then you take us into the darkness. And then you embrace the darkness and take us into the light. It's all kind of ways. Because remember, what are words? Words are picture containers. When I say elephant, you don't think of ELEPA, right? You think Dumbo or Ellie the elephant or the elephant that's on the wall of the kids, all that kind of stuff, right? So great job, Courtney. I like how you said there was some accountability that happened for you in this engagement, because I do get that from other students, that because there's an assignment and there's an expectation of fulfilling this assignment, the work gets done, as opposed to, oh, I didn't do my assignment. Oh, yeah, no. And then they drop out. And I might not see them for another class. So cool deal. You shared your beautiful cover. And that cover was, it was very interesting. Tell us what you thought, Deborah, when you saw the cover.
Oh, it was intriguing. You could feel mystery about it, and like maybe despair.
Despair.
And
you hear these words, Courtney? Mystery, despair, intriguing. These are words that the customer, Deborah, who didn't know anything about this, is saying about your work.
It's good. Yeah, it was good.
And that's what you want. You want to hear from people who don't have a clue. And then you could use those words, because you could say in your on the back of the book, very intriguing, mysterious, brought me into the story, had me thinking about my own darkness, looking for my light. You see what I'm saying? You can use those words to kind of shape the marketing that you're going to have to do when you get people to, tap into your work. All right.
Yeah.
So other than that, was there anything else? Because I know you did I asked you guys to also look at, like, what's my goal, right? And then as if it's already accomplished. And you had something for that as well, right, Courtney?
I did. I think, I wrote out my, where I see myself and where this is going to go, my like vision casting on this. I'm opening my computer. Oh, which profile did I write these in? Let's do this one. Sorry, I keep my outline printed out, so I had it right here because I don't like having to like pull it up and down when I'm on my computer. So let me pull that up now that we're done updating for the longest update of my life. Oh my gosh.
I like how you call it the Declaration of Destiny.
Oh, yes, that's what it was. Yeah. Pull it up. Here's my stuff. Oh, here we go. So many. Here we go. Declaration of. Do you want me to read the whole thing? It's really not too long.
You can. It's not that long, and it's not that long on purpose. So, but I mean, you can summarize, or you can, that's part of what we do here. So share as much as you like.
I will just read the whole thing because I wrote this like a week ago.
Okay.
Okay. So my declaration of destiny. How will life look after I write my first book? Writing has always called to me. I can tell pieces of me and my story through fictional characters and heal and share without feeling vulnerable. Upon completing and publishing my first novel, my level of accomplishment will be overwhelming. Of course, I will count each copy that sells, But I'll also realize that I can do this and get started on book 2. Once that second novel is published, I will be contacted by a publisher's house who is interested in printing my future books and propositions me to write the next one, which of course I already started on book 3. My readers will fall in love with my stories and anticipate the next one, which sells out the first print with pre-orders. While I begin to have many readers who love my work, I still won't quite reach the Times bestsellers list until book 5, where I sit at number 15 for a week. This is when I will feel like an author, when I will realize I actually did it. I'll use the money from my books to build a cozy writing shed on our property that sits on a stream where I will write the rest of my books forever. The 9th novel reaching Times bestseller number 1 and holding for 3 weeks. My husband will have retired and be working on the farm and super proud of all we have accomplished and encouraging me to dream bigger each year. The money from my published work will afford international vacations for my family, finance our second home in Florida, and help me open a rescue center for senior and hospice dogs that are surrendered to shelters facing the awful heartbreak of being put down. And that's it. And that's the future. So I'll see you in 10 years when all of this has happened.
Yeah. So what does this do psychologically? First of all, thank you for completing the assignment. The reason why I send you this is because it is future casting. And there's a full body of knowledge that says that when we share out loud and we tell what's going to be in the future, we have an opportunity to align it with the way that the universe works. And if you're Christian or you're practicing in any kind of religion, it's the thing of called, we say those things, right? What you say, you call those things that are not, and then they become. It's the idea universally that thoughts become things. And that's Michael Dooley's work in The Secret, if you ever wanted to go and research some of that. But there are many, many psychological background, white papers, et cetera, that the words that we speak and how we speak them and what we feel when we share them and when we speak them, they actually do come to pass. Now, some of them right away, some of them down in the future, and then some never, right? Why that doesn't happen for everything, I think it's because it saves us. Because there are some things that we ask for and we'd be like singing a Garth Brooks song right now. Thank God for unanswered prayers. so so that all happens, right? But the bottom line is when you have a goal or you have something on the inside, getting it out on paper and projecting it will exponentially grow the opportunity for it to come to pass. What a lot of people do is they have everything in their head, but you got to get it out of your head, out of your heart, and into your hands. And when you do that, it's going to move you. This is the metaphysical piece of all of what we talk about when we talk about creatives. As a creative, we don't see it right now. We see it here. We say it here. Then when we see and say, then we push it out into the universe, right? I was watching a young lady that does water dancing. I don't know if you ever seen this, but there's people who get in large bodies of water and they just fluidly move. And one of the things that she said is, I become one with the water. Similar to what Bruce Lee said. He said, if you are the cup, water becomes the cup. That's where the power is, when you become one with what's coming through you. And this is a great example, Courtney, in all 3 things. And you also finished your bio, which again, that's what we asked you guys to accomplish. So now what we're going to be doing is taking all these pieces and they become the book. You have your outline, which could be your chapter or maybe not. You can go from the chapter and you might change some of that stuff. The title, you saw that the title was basically the 3 things that we had, the elements, right? We had fall, we had pumpkin, and we had sadness, right? So taking those 3 elements, she came up with the fall. Beautiful, simple, easy. If I was looking for the book, I don't have to think about all this other stuff, the fall, right? And then as you said, Deborah, it was intriguing because of the photo, the picture, the image that she created, that she used. It was a very blurry image, and you can tell it's a female. You can tell, well, you can tell it's a form of a human figure, right? I don't want to assign gender to anything, but it's a figure. It seems like it wouldn't be named the names in the book, right? So you would probably intrigue, you'd be like, oh, let me open this and see what it is. That's what you want. All those elements are part of getting it out there. Now, once you finish your book, guess what? That's not when the work starts once you finish. Because even if you have a publishing company representing you, they're going to tell you, here's 1,000 books, go tell people about it. Here's 15, whatever. I had a friend of mine, he had 10,000 books in his house. He was a doctor. He did this big old dissertation. He turned the dissertation into a book. And I went to his house with my brother-in-law because they talk golf. And I was like, what the world is going on at your house? And he's like, I just got my first 10,000 order of books. I said, okay. So like, what are you going to do with all these? I don't know. He really didn't know how he was going to move them. He still had to move them, even though they did the first 10,000. So that's one of the issues related to having a publishing company versus yourself. Now, today, you are now in competition with one of the fastest writers in the world, AI. I proved it to myself because I've been at a conference for 5 days, since Sunday to now. And one of the booths that I attended was a authorship using AI. I'm working with in Southern Maryland, and this is something that you might want to assist me with too, Courtney, is mental health for young people who may or may not run into issues related to teenage suicide. And one of the conversations I said to the guy, I said, well, what if I wanted to write a book about surviving teenage suicide and it had these 4 elements? And he said, okay, no problem. He picked up his phone and he said, I want to do a book called in the voice of Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg. In the voice of Snoop Dogg. And he said, and it needs to have a solution that you don't have to go it alone. Reach out and get help. It was pretty simple. Within 10 minutes, an entire book. Mind blown. I was sitting there like, I was standing there, I almost fell out. Because I said, what the, how are so there's 2 things that's happening here. You as an author gonna need to know how to use these tools, or these tools are gonna take over your whatever, your genre. Will it end? No, it's not. It's not. You can look in history and see. There's still people using the little thing to open up their can, even though you can put it in another thing and it does it all for you. All that's happening. But if you want to be on the cutting edge, you got to figure out how you're going to use all this stuff for what you want. Just like that book cover. You can actually tell the AI, I want a book cover of a person who's confused, who looks like they're in the shadows and they're coming out of darkness on Thursday night. And she needs to look like Jolie. And it goes, whoo, and in 10 seconds, I'm telling you, 10 to 15 seconds, it's rendering the art for you. Now, what does that do for you as a writer? You don't have to pay thousands of dollars for somebody to create a book cover for you. You can do it yourself. You don't have to sit and wait 3 weeks for somebody to go back and forth with what you want, because you could just push a button and go, I like that one, version 2, version 1, version 4. So what I'm saying to you is the writing your story type thing has been impacted by technology, and you have the ability to be in the front of it or behind it. If you sit and watch it, then you'll just be an observer. But if you take advantage of it and find out what ChatGPT does, and there's other ones out there. There's one called Simon, and there's another one Write Sonic. Write Sonic is really cool for your website and for all your like advertisement and getting the word out about your book. You can just tell Write Sonic, I need an ad for my book. It's about this, and this, and it'll create a Facebook ad, a YouTube ad, all of it in seconds, saving you countless hours of time and money as an author. So you can get to the real business of generating story. So I didn't want to put a wrench in anything. I just want you to be aware that this has changed. And I had to have them prove it to me because I wanted to really see it in action. And I was floored. But 2 nights ago, I sat there, instead of going out, hanging out with everybody, I sat on the computer and I learned how to tell it what I wanted. And I can tell you right now, I wanted to do a speech presentation to the kids in reference to this idea of, breathing one more breath and not giving up on their life. And it gave me a full outline that now I could take and create the course with it that I'm going to teach in the schools. Okay. That is how powerful this thing is. And I want you to make sure that you take advantage of that. Okay. So let me put my glasses back on. Any question?
No, that's awesome. It's kind of exciting. Like, it'd be nice to not have to create all of your like marketing and promotional material. You know what I mean? Like, because that stuff, I mean, not only does it just take time to like do, but it can like, I find that you end up down this like
Rabbit hole
wormhole of like
yes.
like,
Overthinking it,
you
like,
end
oh
up
my gosh.
spending, yeah. It's terrible. You can spend hours and hours like creating all like in Canva, just making a bunch of different things and making like stories to go on your Instagram and like putting together entire like 6-page spreads that you can throw out there. And yeah, you can end up down this total little rabbit hole. And next thing you know, you're like, okay, well, I got 0 actual like money making work done. But look, I made all these pretty advertisements.
Now, I will say you can do that for other people and get paid because there's other people who don't want to do the technology. They don't want to access it. And so you can help them as well. So yeah, there are some opportunities, and all what I'm saying to you as a writer, as a creative, as a creator, pay attention to what's going on in the marketplace because the marketplace shifted. And if we don't go along with the market shift, it could kind of overshadow some of the other stuff. I think there'll always be someone with a paintbrush, even though right now the computer can create, a Mona Lisa, and there'll always be someone with a pen, even though it can rewrite the Bible, because that's what 2 guys decided to do. They wanted to rewrite the Bible, and they had the computer do it. So real interesting. All right, Deborah, did you get any of the assignments done, or you want to share where you are in your journey?
Well, I've had a complete change of everything. I've decided that I'm going to go back to my story that I had written about adopting the gaseous dog and his exploits. And so I'm in the process of writing an outline for that.
Okay.
I did write my bio. I did get that done, and it's just 4 sentences. It's not 3 sentences, so it's very short.
Yeah, 3 to 4 sentences is fine. Do you mind sharing it? Any of that?
Yeah, my bio is Deborah is a retired ER nurse. This is her first book. She lives on the Western Shore of Maryland with her adopted dog Pippi 11.
Okay,
So,
cool. And that's could be, if you look at books on your shelf, you're going to see bios just that simple.
yeah.
And then you're going to see other ones that, okay, Courtney, that are, more elaborate. I sat in a conference. They took 12 minutes to introduce this one person. It was ridiculous. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. You're smart. You did a lot of stuff. But yeah, it was quite the interesting thing. So from all we covered so far and what we talked about this morning, this afternoon, is there anything that's resonating with you? What's coming up for you, Deborah?
Well, I think I want to get my outline rewritten. I don't have actually the copy of my first draft,
Mhm.
because I'm going through a divorce, and that's another story. But anyhow, it's at my former house and I can't get that. So I'm going to try to rewrite it from memory and redraw the outline and, work on making it even better than it was.
So I want to offer you this because that's happened to me. It wasn't a divorce, but it was my car got stolen. Well, people broke in my car, excuse me, and stole the stuff in my car. And I had a box with my manuscript in it, and they stole the box. I didn't care about all the stuff in the box, but I did care about this
You care
story I had
about
been
that.
working on for like forever. And so what I had to do was look, I did a timeline. You can do different things, but I did a timeline on what were the key pieces that I really wanted to cover that I had said that I wanted to meet. And then I put those all down as my first outline. And then I did subtext, sub outline. Like if I talked about my mom, I was a kid who lost their mom at an early age. My mom died when I was 8. It was a tragic situation. And me and my brother were just left there with my dead mom, and I had to go get my uncle, and there's this whole story there. Then my dad had left when I was 2, so I didn't have a dad either. And so we were going to be put into foster care. And so they were like, okay, we're going to keep them together. We're going to get somebody that's temporary foster care. So what I had to do is I had to look at those stories because I really wanted to honor my mom as much as I could remember, honor her memory, and then tell this gruesome story, terrible story about this lady that became my foster care parent and the transition that happened with my grandfather, who at that time, he was 70 years old. And in New York, at that time, if you were 70, they take you from the person. They're like, oh, you're 70, you're too old, you can't do this. It's like they take your driver's license and all that stuff. So I want to say this to you, look at those sub-context stories, and then you might find some other real cool golden nuggets in your in telling the story again.
Thank you.
Right?
That helps.
So hopefully that helps. All right.
It
So
will.
I do have some Chaz, are you still there? I see your name, but I don't see you, and I know you're off camera. What have you covered? Do you have any of your assignment? Do you want to share with us?
Sure. Let me just grab something real quick before the phone rings.
And you can share the screen too if that's what you have ready.
So I have some things printed out.
Okay. And you can just kind of show and tell kind of thing. See if we can see it. If we see it, it's okay. If you don't, you could always send it as a document.
Oh my, so I did do the book cover, but I didn't do it the way you I haven't watched the replay.
No problem. Do it however you did it. Just share what you have. Okay. It's fine. There is no right or wrong in this, everybody.
So I did the outline for the pumpkin sadness. I feel like everybody else that took off with me a little better than the initial story that I wanted to write.
Okay.
So my outline just pretty much breaks down. I don't have, my characters' names or whatever, but it just pretty much went, she hates this time of the year. The leaves are turning. There's a gray sky. She's feeling gray. The fall is the worst time of the year. He dies around fall. They used to decorate together. And she's afraid to move on. She's depressed. She's just laying around in the bed, crying all the time. She's soaking in her tears, thinking about memories of them being together, doing things around the house together, remembering his favorite decorations and painting pumpkins. He does pass away from an illness. I didn't know what illness I wanted it to be, so I did put cancer. They didn't know he was ill until the last minute. It happened so fast. She finds a business card that someone gives her to talk to a therapist. She does a few visits. The therapist offers her a grief counseling group. She goes to the group a few times and she runs into this guy who kind of has a similar story to hers, and just wanted to turn the sadness around to give like a little bit of hope at the end. They ended up pretty much hitting it off and, develop their own holiday ritual or whatever around the fall. So it goes, she's sad in the beginning, but then she kind of, regains hope in the end from going to this grief group.
Okay. Are you thinking of a series on that, or like now you get to this hope part, and now it's like how hope?
Probably. I mean, it depends on how well I can fill in the outline, because now that's pretty much where I'm stuck at, But I like the way, the story is kind of playing out in my mind. So I kind of want to go with that a little bit more.
Good.
As far as my bio, checking out books in my house, I realized, these seasoned authors, they have a lot more, accolades. So I tried to jazz myself up, but then I didn't want to, kind of
Courtney, help her out real quick. Help her real quick. What's the words that we need to say?
All the words. Courtney has all the words.
Enough. No, it's only 3 words. You are enough. You said that before, so we want to catch you before you go down that.
Okay, let me bring it back.
Yeah, bring it on back. You are enough. You do not compare yourself to these other writers. I'm sorry. You can't get away with that in this class. Not even in a bio.
So I have something really simple because I am enough. It says Chess Brown is a wife and mom to a teenage daughter. She holds an Associate of Applied Science degree in visual communications. She enjoys writing short stories, leaving her readers on the edge of their seats. She's been writing since she learned to hold a pen and is soon to start her memoir. Born in Washington, D.C. and currently living in the area. That's what I got.
All right. So let me hear from you guys. What do you think about her bio?
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I mean, you do not need to have 20 books on. Honestly, some of these writers that list off and here's my bestsellers. When I have bestsellers, I'm not going to be obnoxious and list 20 of them in my bio, because they'll all be on your Amazon anyway. So I don't eat that. So I think they should be more personal anyway.
No, I agree 100%.
See, we have to help each other out in that sense, because that comparison analysis can get you stuck. And you get to that point where now you're, we already run into what's called the there's this imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is real. It's this idea that this person got a PhD, all this stuff. I got cured from that years ago when I was invited to speak to a group of people who were all managers, and I had a high school diploma. And when I walked in the room, they all were PhDs, double PhDs, and a master's at least. And they were using names like Persephone's, Zeus, and they had all Greek god names on their name tape. And I was like, what the world did they send me to? But I was there. I was there to tell them that they had to make time for the heart. It was called Expectations of the Heart. And they had to reach people where they are. And it didn't matter after 45 minutes of talking to them what their PhD said. It was what was their heart saying. So hopefully that helps. All right, so let me go into today's presentation because I have some more stuff to share. All right, so thank you, Chaz, for sharing. Thank you, Courtney, and thank you, Deborah. I can't do the class by myself. I can't, I mean, I could. I just record it and send it out, I guess. But remember, you are the story. Write what you love, write what you know, right? And as you said, Chad, you can develop the character. You got more time. You'll have more time to, sit there and like decide, like, okay, what do I want to do with this character? How much more do I want people to know about my character, right? That's important. And then, of course, give them some scars, give them some wins, give them some things that they've overcome, make them real to the reader. So, when you have a blank canvas, you can pretty much paint it whatever color you want. There is a book, it's an old book called The Artist's Way. I can't think of the author right off the bat. I think it's Deborah or something. Anyways, The Artist's Way. And in this book, it talks about the authenticity that we bring to our work. And so think about the authenticity of your character and how could you, make that, make that really a person that people want to know, a person that people want to connect with. Now, some of you are going to do novels. There are novel outline examples. You can find them all over the internet and you can grab them. And it has the same things, right? You have the premise, what is it kind of all about? Then you have what's the start, right? The becoming. And then, of course, you have the turning points and the pinch points. There's always going to be, they call pinch points, the pressure. And I think I mentioned this last week with you, that is not just the pressure, but there has to be constantly a way to let us know, hey, where's the pressure in this that needs to be released? Because if you keep us with the pressure, you carry us all over the story, right? And then you always have the midpoint, and then of course some of the turning points to the climax. And I gave you like some other structure that you could use. If you watch the video, you'll see that. Also, you can do an outline on your narrative, like, what kind of elements do you need to make sure happen? I'll send these as handouts. I just wanted to kind of touch base with you on it. And remember that there's all kind of writing strategies. Again, Courtney mentioned hers and how she found, hey, I'm going to write in the morning when I'm doing my coffee. She just found that space because she has a busy life with the children and the home and all that kind of stuff. And you got to have work-life balance or home-life balance when you're doing this, okay? So there's a couple of things to remember and things that you to do and know. Number one, author information. You did your bio, that's cool, right? You want to find yourself a good editor. A good editor or a editor that is aware of all the different pieces. As I think I mentioned to you, my editor, I found her on Fiverr. I've been working with her for the last 3 years. She's done a number of different projects for me. We found a real happy place, but she's a content author. Editor. She's a form editor and she's a proofreader. So she does all the facets of it, right? Some people only do one thing, proofread only. Other people do content and format only. And then some people do the whole thing, structure, etc. When you're having challenges with your character, you might want to have an editor take a peek at it. And they can usually find things faster, right? We talked about designing your cover, laying it out. I showed you where you can go through Canva and you can, practice and do that. I'm going to come back to these other two right there, but also headshot. You want to have a nice photo. Doesn't have to be a headshot anymore. It used to be like only those headshots, right? Hey, but now it's you in your life, like living life, hanging out with your kids, hanging out with your dog, sailing, fishing, whatever it is that brings you joy. You can have a nice shot. The thing about it though is make sure they can see your face, they can see your character, right? You don't want it so far away that they can't see you. You want the eyes to connect, right? So that's something. A website. I mentioned to you that you don't have to spend a lot of money on a website. You can get a website done for $100 or less. And I would only do that if I don't want to do it myself. And again, AI, you could tell it to make you a website as an author, and it will create one for you. So you pick your favorite author and say, make me a website like, Courtney's website, and boom, it'll make it. So it writes the code and everything. It's crazy, right? Or you just get somebody to do it for you for a couple of dollars. ISBN, I'm getting ready to talk about that. PDF final and Word document. So inside what we're going to use is KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing. It requires that when you use bleed, which means you're going to have pictures in your book that goes out to the edges, it has to be a PDF. But if you don't have that, it'll put a natural box around everything, a little light box around everything, and it's a Word doc, and it'll work. So you'll be seeing that in real time when I get to that point, and you'll be able to make that decision on how you want to do that with your writing. The next thing to understand is this is printing on demand, right? Printing on demand means what you see is what you get. It's not going to fix anything. So you got to do all the work before you submit, because you don't want to submit errors, because it's just going to show it with the errors. Now, the way you get around that is by having what we call a beta test. So you're going to do your book, put it all together, create an actual physical book, not just a PDF of your book. You want physical pages where you can turn the page, check the spine, check the binder, make sure all the pages are in there nice and tight, all those different things, right? And this is part of printing on demand. And there are multiple companies out there. We're using KDP. There's also the Book Patch. There's Lulu.com. I'm familiar with them. And just recently, Amazon acquired Book Baby. All right. So there are all kind of people out there doing this work. The other question is whether I should do a regular book or an ebook. Both. You might want to start out with your paperback, but one way to get books into the hands of the people is through the ebook, right? And KDP, of course, is for the Kindle. You don't hear people talk about Kindle very much because most of the smartphones are now equipped to read books no matter what. You don't need a Kindle reader, you just need a smartphone, right? So you can have that. But what people do for marketing purposes is they'll give away the first chapter. They'll give away a piece of the book. They'll give away pieces of all the chapters with what's called a sample. And that's the best way to deliver that is through an ebook, right? And that's just an electronic book that sets on the server, and it's real easy for you to get it out into the community, okay? Also, I want to encourage you, this is me down, and this is Miss Felicia. She wrote a children's book. She was a survivor of, I think it was a sickle cell anemia, and she had this really major thing that happened in her life because they told her she would have it for the rest of her life. But she felt that she had this angel that showed up one night. She told her mom about it, and she's never had another incident on sickle cell. And so she wrote about this princess that she called it herself, Princess Felicia. And she talks about this experience as a children's book. And then I used to have my book in a workbook kind of position. I since changed it, but that's us at a family event in Waldorf, at the Waldorf family, I forget what it's called, but it was in Waldorf, a lot of families. All right, the other way is that you can create books now. Again, video to page, audio to page, AI, artificial intelligence, podcasts, which is another way to get stuff going. So Courtney, when you were talking, what I thought about is if you took one part of that, story and you wanted to talk about it. One of the other things you said that the goal is to, rescue animals. So you could start a podcast around the rescue animals, but then share your other stories, right? Or vice versa. You can do all those kind of things with your story. Same thing for you, Deborah, when you was talking about that, and you, Chaz, right? You could also get transcribers, which is so awesome now. They have a thing called Rez, R-E-Z, and all you do, R-E-V. And what you do, and it's right here on your smartphone too, and on your computer, if you have the most up-to-date Windows, you could just talk. You never have to pick up a pen. You just talk. And Windows with the new software has an embedded text, talk to text, and you can actually just start talking and talk it out. What's cool about that is sometimes when you're talking, the flow is different than when you're writing. So you have an opportunity to do that. The other piece is get somebody else to do it for you, ghostwriters. There are major people in the writing industry who use ghostwriters. One of them being Stephen King. Most people don't know Stephen King does not write all those books anymore. He has people out there and he has them write these pieces. Okay. And then he has a whole team behind him that puts it all together and blah, blah, blah. Again, voice recognition, Audacity is free. You don't have to pay for it. It's an open source download. You can go to Audacity. Dragon, you can buy for like $29. And it's a speech software, it recognizes you. And Speak It is just something that it's a little app you put on your computer and you just talk to it and it writes as well. So these are all things that will help you create your book when you're ready if you didn't want to sit down to typing. Now, there are some people, because it's ethereal, right? It's from the heart. They have to sit down and write that way. Other people write longhand and then they send it to someone and have them type it out. You can do that as well. My Lulu experience. So why did I get in self-publishing? Well, it was because no one would take my story. And I didn't have the tenacity that Jack Canfield had at the time. I was just looking for, hey, how can I make this happen quicker? I went to a number of conferences and I was a conference speaker. And every time when I do these conferences, I would come home and people would say, you know, that was really great. Da, 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 da. That story about your life was pretty powerful. And I said, yeah. Well, I went to one conference and I met Dr. Boyle. Dr. Boyle has this program called Jobs Not Jails in East LA. East LA gang members run to his church when they're running from someone that might want to shoot them. He's actually held young people in his hands as they take their last breath. And we were at a conference together and our tables were sitting next to each other. And he said, you know, you're missing out on a lot of money. And I said, what do you mean? He said, people want to take a part of you home after the speech. So why not have a book? And that was the birth of Lulu.com, because I started searching for how to do self-publishing. And Lulu.com at the time had a video, it had a step-by-step process. It's more convoluted now because, you know, when first come out, self-publishing didn't have a real good name. It had a lot of stuff around it because it's similar to what's happening with AI right now. It was new, people didn't understand it, they didn't know what to do. Okay, so that was how that could go. You can auto books through a blog. So what you can do also is just do blog pieces, posts, blog posts, Facebook posts, Twitter posts, Instagram posts, and then you take that collection and turn it into a book. Okay, and then you can do chapter books, chapter plus books, right? Where you do a chapter and then you just finish that chapter, do another chapter, and then you get a form editor to put all the chapters together. Okay. Two other places. Well, one place I already told you about, Fiverr, but Elance is now Upworks. So you can go to upworks.com and you can hire a freelancer to do all this stuff. So everything that we just talked about and what we talked about before, you can do by having somebody do it for you. All right. And it calls pay for service, fee for service, and they do it by page, by word, and by job. When I look for someone to do the work, I look for a job, because I want to get them from the beginning to the end. I don't want to do a piece and then I got to go to somebody else, another piece, and that type of thing. So I'm going to pause right here. What questions do you have in reference to how you can actually get your book done?
So with editing, you kind of went over like a bunch of different, like, how do you know what kind of editor you need and if they're the right kind of editor for your book? Or, I mean, how do you even figure out what to do?
Okay, well, it's not easy to pick and choose a person, but
Yeah.
what it is it's a trust factor. You got to look at look at what they've accomplished, right? And when you look at what they're accomplished, you're going to talk to them. You're going to interview them just like you would interview somebody for a job. You're going to say, hey, I'd like to, you know, right at the bottom of their thing, you can show me your resume. And then you could also say, show me the projects that you worked on. And then you could also say, talk to me. Here's a Zoom link. Let's talk. And then you interview them, Courtney, just like you would interview anybody for a job, because that's what it is. And those that don't want to do that, you don't want to use them. I mean, I won't use people that I can't have a real conversation with. And I need to have people who are accessible, where they're not so many, so they don't have so many jobs. It's so busy. They you know, I'll catch you on Thursday. I'm not that guy. I need to talk to you like tomorrow, today, tomorrow. I can go with a day, but 3 days from now, I don't know. There's a lot of
Right.
people out there doing this work. And then you ask them the questions about, like, you know, where did they get their background from? How did, you know, how many books have they completed? And then as far as which one you need, talking to them will help you identify that. Because see, when you know, all right, I want to add some really cool, cute things on my page. I want, you know, the chapters to look a certain way with drop letters dropping down, and that's all like part of like creativity as well, right? And there is software that allows you to do that, but you can get them to do that, and they will let you know. They do book design, and so they do inside book design. That's what that is. And they make it look really nice. Put a little squirrely thing on the top of you, you know, talking about dogs. Then you have a little puppy that will kind of carry around through the story. It might be changing a little bit, a paw print here, a paw print there, that kind of stuff. If you need a proofreader, then you look for them to do all three. So let me show you instead of telling you. So let me go to page. I'll just show you how I make a decision, and then you can come up with your decision how you do it too. Hopefully they'll let me, uh, you know, sometimes they log me out. All right, cool. I'm not logged out. All right, so let me come back here and share my screen. All right, so when I'm inside Fiverr, and I'm using Fiverr because it's the cheapest one. I won't say cheap, I'm gonna say least expensive, because there are some amazing people doing this work, right? I'm gonna look for, what do I need? Okay, I need my book design. So I might start up here at book services, right? I'm just put the word book first and see what it comes in. It says, oh, editor and formatting. If I'm at the point where I need the format, then I'm going to format. And I'm looking for, it says book layout, design, typesetting. Yeah, that's what I want. I want that. Then I'm going to always look for pro services first, because they're already vetted by Fiverr. And then I'll look at some others, but I'm going to see what comes up. Now these come up, and this person says I would do children's book, format, professional, aesthetic book, interior. This looks like a pretty good one. And they have to be level 2 or better, not a level 1, but a level 2. They go up that way. And they're usually going to have top rated, or they're going to have like a star or something next to their name. And then you also look for multiple 5-star reviews, because in Fiverr, it's required. It's a requirement. You can't buy reviews like you do on Yelp. Okay. So then you come in here and you look for stuff that's similar to what you feel. Now this person does everything: layout, design, typesetting, format, book design, and they're level 2. So I might look at this, and they got 762 reviews and starts at $25. That's how I'm making the decisions, Courtney. I'm making a decision like this. And yeah, you're gonna run into some people who kind of oversell their ability, and then you have some that don't. Like this person has all languages, all niches, fonts embedded, which is really important. When you get to the beginning, when you get to the end part where you're getting ready to submit your work, the fonts need to be embedded. And there's 2 things you have to do inside a PDF to make that happen, right? He has returning clients, fast delivery. And so all you would do is go over here and message Deepak Wifamat, and then go ahead and tell him, hey, I want to talk to you. And then go from there. So KDP book formatting and layout design services. See how this is looking like this? This is what most people would do on the left-hand side. What he'll do is see how you got the drop letter, you got the nice space, you got the squiggly line up front. He took this plain text on the left and created this on the right. When you have people talking, he's got the quotes to make sure you know people are having a conversation. All that stuff is important when you're starting to look at how your book's gonna look. And then you can see how he even has it set up for Ingram Sparks, which is another program, and Kindle Direct, right? So you can look at how he set it up. I mean, I personally, I would have to heart this person because I might have to be back. All right, so that's kind of like what I would do. And
Okay.
that hopefully that answers your question. You're gonna know as you do it more where your skill is versus theirs, especially when you feel like, man, this is really bugging my head. I can't figure out how to get I'm trying to get the T to go over here. Well, that's what a
Yeah.
formatter can do. They know all the stuff behind the scenes. They know how to, like, the page layout and all that stuff. I don't figure that stuff out. I give it to Allison.
Okay.
I don't have time for it. I really don't. I used to be like, oh, I gotta do it. I gotta know everything. Not anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. What other
Perfect.
questions do you have?
So as far as like where we're at in the story, and this is probably more of a like confidence issue than anything. But do you recommend having someone like a friend that you know reads all the time like you do?
Here's the thing. Yeah, you can have people read it on the way, and that's cool. I have no problem with either one. I'm right now working on a play. One of my students that took this class 3 years ago sent me their play out of the blue. Hey, Mr. Ross, I finished my play. Can you take a look? So I did, but I'm not a playwright, right? But I have two friends that are, one that's on Tubi right now, who wrote 2 movies, and I have another person who's been doing local stuff. So I called her, Sharon. Shannon. Hey, Shannon, could you take a look? So yeah, you can get people to look at it. But when you get it to the almost finished stage, you want to have what's called beta readers. And these are groups of people who that's all they do all day long is read people's books. And they look for flaws and they look for content. They look for character flow. They look for all these cool things that make your book a bestseller.
Okay.
Your
Beta
friends will be like, oh, girl, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And you spell the THEE. And they missed the first one. So I love friends, but I don't put that much emphasis on that when it comes to getting it ready for production. All right,
Okay.
Deborah, I saw your hand up.
So the ISBN and
Yeah, I'm getting ready to cover that.
okay.
Yep, that's what's coming next. That's why I took it off the list. It was up there high on
Yeah.
the list because I want to go into it
Yeah.
more specifically. All right, but good question. So this is something else that keeps people stuck, right? They get started and they're like, oh, I don't have an ISBN. Okay, well, this is the deal. ISBN is just like a fingerprint for your book, right? It's the international standard for your book. It's a number that has a number of different things. It has 13 numbers or 10 numbers, and it's set up specifically like a fingerprint. It tells the store all the stuff they need to know. They need to know, like, where do I put this book in the store? What is it classified? Is it novel? Is it a young adult novel? Is it, thriller, blah, blah, blah. You saw the list, right? Then it classifies it and it tells you, okay, we need to also be able to put it in this part of the alphabet, right? And then, of course, then they also have like when it was created, which is the date, and if it's a special illustration or whatever. So all of that is like the fingerprints of the book. So that's what an ISBN does, right? It helps you put some type of context to what this, where does it go in the store? It's strictly made so that they can, follow up with where it goes, et cetera, right? It's for sales and it's for the publishing industry. It's to identify your book versus everybody else. And just like a fingerprint, you can only get one ISBN for that particular book. Then you have to do one electronic for electronic, and then you have to do one for your next series, right? They don't have the same number. So think about fingerprint, identification, that's what it's for. Now, Library of Congress number, control number. Every single one of you could put a Library of Congress control number. You don't have to. It's not required. Neither is a copyright required. We just say you should have one because if somebody takes that story and like it and turn it into a big movie like Harry Potter, you might want to have your copyright, right? So the Library of Congress number, control number is free, and you just go to their website. It's right here, loc.gov. And when you go to their website, you apply, and all your books go through there. And what you're doing is you're putting it into the book world of I Exist Forever, right? So that anybody 25, 35, 50, 60, 80, 102 years from now, they can get that number. If they have that number, they can find your book. So your great grandchildren could come back to that book. Now, how did that work for somebody recently? In the 50s, there was a guy named Napoleon Hill. He wrote a book called Think and Grow Rich. And it was really kind of public domain because he kept putting it in the newspaper and everywhere else. So when he died, there was no major copyright for his work. It was his daughter later on, his granddaughter, excuse me, later on in life, who went back and said, wait, we can prove this was my dad, my grandfather. And then the family reconvened, and now they owned the rights to the book. Now, you still can find one in public domain and use it, because you'll see people saying this, Think and Grow Rich this, and Think and Grow Rich that, because it is still public domain. But if you use the original work is theirs, and you can't use it, okay? Because it's controlled, and it's the copyright. Basically, what it does is it just covers you for ownership. And the way it works right now, the registration is up to $85 for a full body of work, $65 for like 2 or 3 books, and then $35 for 1 book. So there's no requirement, again, to register it, but it is the best evidence of you being the original writer of the work, right? Because you want to protect what they call your intellectual property. And then there used to be a thing where you can register it by sending it to yourself in the mail. That's no longer stand up in court. They called it the poor man's patent. That was challenged in a court of law and lost. And so you can't have a poor man's copyright either, right? Here's what I'm gonna say to you: spend the money, but you don't have to do it for 5 years from the date of inception. So if you create the work now, and then you do a series of work, take the body of work and submit that. And that will be better than trying to do 1 book at a time, because it's gonna be costly, right? And same thing with ISBNs. You can buy ISBNs from a place called Bowker, Bowker. And Bowker, and I'll send you the links to all this stuff that I'm talking about. In the follow-up email, you'll get all links to everything that I shared that you need to do some investigation on. I'm going to share that with you. But on Bowker, you can buy bulk, 20 at a time, 15 at a time. Because if you don't, then you'll be in a situation where you buy one and it's $200. You buy another one, it's $200 or $250. Whereas you can buy like a whole bulk load of them, 10 of them for like $350. It's a very interesting way that they have it set up. They really want you to buy them in bulk. So they want you to do more books, right? And so KDP gives you a free one. So my daughter, she was 3 years old. She came to the window. We first just moved to Maryland, and she was like, Daddy, the trees, they don't have any jacket on. It's cold out there. And I was like, what? And she's like, how come the trees don't have a jacket on, Daddy? And we had to create a jacket out of stuff. And, I took some big old trash can bags and turned them into a jacket and put it around a tree. But I wrote a little storybook about that, and she owns her copyright here. There's Little Brittany Books, only a couple pages. And this was done, I think, I can't see what year was this, 1998, right? And this is in forever, copyright.com. Now, here's the thing, .gov. She can come back now as a grown woman that now has a child, a baby, my Brielle, And she can actually rewrite the story for Brielle, and she owns the rights to this. That's what's so amazing and so cool about it, right? And nobody can steal this from her. Nobody can steal your story. All right. So let me come out and see if there are any questions. We got about 20 something, 30 minutes left. Go ahead.
So we get the copyright at
Whenever
the,
you want.
like,
You
we're
have up to
done
5
writing the
years.
book?
Huh?
Do I do it when I'm completely done writing it, or
You
should I do
use
it
what's called
now?
a standard. If you look at the front of a book, it's going to say the standard. There's about 6 or 7 standard copyrights. Go find a book right now.
Like, let me
Just
grab a
grab
book.
one. Yeah, just grab a book.
Okay. Like a real book. What am I reading?
And it doesn't matter what kind it is. Unless it's as long as it's not a doctoral dissertation book. It can't be like from a college. But just get a basic, like any other book, all right? Now, when you open up that, you're going to see copyright. It's going to be on the second or third page. Usually it's on the second page. You see it?
We're getting there.
Unless they
Okay.
got like stuff, right? After the title is usually on the first or second page, okay? It's going to be on the left-hand side. So that's a standard location, number one. I'll talk about that later when we put it all together. But I want you to look at that copyright. What does it say?
Well, it just says copyright 2018.
That's it.
And then by Rachel Hollis.
That's it. That's the simplest copyright statement that you can put in a book. The second one is going to say copyright may not be copied, put into a electronic system. I don't know it by heart. I got a book in here if I can grab it right quick. Let me see.
Oh, okay. So like underneath the copyright, it says all rights reserved, no
There you
portion
go.
of the book may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form by any means.
Without the consent, written
Yeah.
consent of the publisher, author, or associated. Mhm.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
called a standard copyright. Every single book, you put that in there, it covers you from the moment you say yes. And then later on, you go and you buy your actual copyright. But you do not have to have it before you publish your book. You put the standard in there, and then you go from there. Now, I have given people the right to copy my book because
Okay.
I have a workbook at the end of my book, and I gave them the right. So mine has another clause that says, if used for education or personal development, you have the right to do such and such, submit your story about what happened to me.
Okay.
So that way, if they use it and I find out, I'm like, oh, this is Bobby. Yeah. He was working with some people on such.
Okay.
That makes
Okay.
sense?
Yeah.
What else? Chaz, you got anything? Deborah?
No.
The ISBN, do you have to have like specifics? Like you said, it goes where it's cataloged and everything. So if I wanted to buy 10, and then like right now I'm writing like young adult fiction novels,
Oh, yeah.
and
You
then
just,
I to randomly write a children's book, would I then
Mhm.
need to buy a different?
No. They're all, it's like you bought 5 fingers.
Okay.
Now you use the finger for whatever it was you want to do. That's a terrible, but it's 5 fingerprints, right?
Okay.
It's like, I'm gonna put this one with children's book. I'm gonna put this one with such and such. I'm gonna put this one with so and so. I'm gonna put this one with such and such. That's it. So,
Okay.
my lights went out because they're closing this place, but I'm okay to stay here, but they're closing the store. So, you still should be able to see me. Still see me okay?
Yeah, we can see you
All
fine.
right, and it's only 20 something minutes, so I'm on 30 minutes, so you should be able to see me. So does that answer your question?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Now, if you decide to do an electronic version, that's different because there's a hardcover ISBN, there's a paperback ISBN, and when you purchase them, It's going to ask you, like, what is it for? And you tell it. So there is some difference there. Okay. So
Okay, so a hardcover, a paperback, and an ebook would all have their
yeah,
AS.
and you'll see that when you're creating it, when you get to that point, it's going to ask you the question inside KDP. Now, again, KDP is Kindle and it's Amazon where everybody's buying books, right? Now, you don't have to use them. We're using them just for our purposes. There are some other ones that are community-based publishers. There are some that publish specifically around certain genre and titles like dog rescue and that type of thing. That's a specific area of books. Just as I'm not sure if you understand or have you experienced Wayne Dyer, Deepak Chopra, those they publish under Hay House. And the reason is because Louise Hay, she started that publishing company specifically to expose people to personal development and tapping into the God within. When she started doing her affirmations for people who were dying from AIDS, she went into the AIDS community with open arms and open hands and said, let me help you. Let me help you. The ones that were dying, she would help them die with dignity. So she started writing these really cool letters and stuff, and it became publishing. And then as she died, Mr. Reed took over, and he just expanded it even bigger. Okay, so there are some that are out there that have specific values and mission around their publishing. There's children's publishers that only do children's books only. They only do educational books. So when you do your research, check that out. And just be careful because there are some companies that will take all your money, $10,000 to get started, and they don't do half of nothing that you could do all by yourself. I learned that you can do most of it, or you can do all of it yourself. That's the first thing. But you can do most of it and then hand it off to a publishing company and still get a good deal, right? But you got to do your homework, you got to do your research, and you have to vet them. Don't just pick them because they're on a list on the internet. All right, what other questions do you have? All right, well, I'm gonna go back to the presentation. Oh, Chaz, did you have something in the chat?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought I saw something in the chat. Oh, okay. That's an old message from earlier. All right. All right, I covered that. So, oh yeah. So what happens with this other thing is there's a publishing company and then there's direct publishing. And that's where we sit. We sit in the direct publishing arena. Now, the publishing company, you do the book, you do all the work, you do everything, you only get 7 to 10% of the royalties. That's it. 7 to 10%. Flip it over, direct publishing, you keep 70%, 65%, 40%, depending on the book. Okay. That's one of the other perks of direct publishing through KDP. Number one, you don't need a website because they give you a website. They give you a place for all your books to sit. They give you an author central where you can also tell everybody who you are, put a video up if you want, all kind of cool stuff, right? So direct publishing offers you, the new person, a lot of perks to work with them in their platform versus the publishing company. Because just know the publishing company will reject you. You reject you, okay. You might put it in and you get a hit and they go, yes, we want it. No problem. Go for it. I'm not saying you don't use either one, but if you really want your work to be out there and you want to get it done, direct publishing allows that to happen. Lulu.com again was one of them. And I mentioned them already. Paper versus Kindle. Again, Kindle does all now, right? But people like turning pages still. Some people like the feel of a book. So that's why you should have it in both Kindle form, and you should have it where they can get it in a paperback, right? And you get to choose the size and all that kind of stuff, which I'll be showing you in the demo, right? And Amazon, the reason why I say amazing Amazon, because fortunately for them, they're everywhere. Every genre, all type of things. What they're not is the New York Times bestseller, but that's okay. Each one of those things are not as important as you think, right? Let me give you an example. There's a lady named Mel Robbins who's out right now with the high five rule. She had the 5-second rule, and now she has the high five rule. Both books sold over 2 million copies, or 1.2 million copies, something like that. All both self-published. No, I think the first one was self-published. The second one, a publishing company did it because they were like, yo, she did that herself and made millions of copies, right? Here's what happened. A publishing company did not want to touch her book. And she's a well-known person, has, TV show and all this kind of stuff in Europe and some other stuff, but she wasn't a writer. And they were like, I don't know. So she was like, forget you, I'm gonna do it anyway. And she did it herself, right? And she used Amazon as a delivery system in KDP and sold millions. And here's the thing, she never had to have a book at her house sitting on a desk waiting to be sold. It sits on their computer, waits for someone to order, and then they make the book. It's like going to a restaurant where you get your breakfast done and they say what kind of eggs you want, and they actually crack eggs and put them in there and stir, it's that kind of thing. It's now. And they have computers and book making machines all over the United States, in the world. And when you see an Amazon Center, one of those things is in there is a KDP Center. And so when you push the button, it finds the most closest one that will work with that particular genre, and it creates it for you. Like right now from here, it'll come from Delaware, or it might come from Iowa. It all just depends. Sometimes it might come from somewhere else if there's a backlog. But during COVID, it was kind of crazy. But since COVID's kind of relaxed a little bit, it's the other way around, okay? There used to be a thing called Create Space. Amazon basically turned it into KDP Publishing. Now, the cool thing about this also is now they're affiliated with all these different places. When you go to Barnes & Noble, you're looking at Amazon books. When you go to the Books A Million up there on 301, you're looking at Amazon books, because these are all affiliates. When you do Ingram Sparks, you're looking at Amazon books, because they are affiliates of Amazon.com, which, remember, this all started with the Kindle. And so the technology was owned by Amazon, and then they had to, well, actually it was owned by another company that Amazon bought. And when they acquired that company, they acquired all the stuff, right? And put it out there. All right, so you can make a book in 48 hours or less. And so I've been talking a lot because it's just mostly, this is all information with you receiving an email that's going to give you some step-by-step instructions, right? Just want to keep in mind these things. Publishing a book is easy, but it's not. I mean, it's simple, but it's not. It's easy, but it's simple. It's simple and easy, okay? But it could be very frustrating if you don't know what you're doing, right? Ideas are everywhere. Anything, like I said, could become a mask, right? Can become a book. So write, and then rewrite, and then let it go, okay? It's already perfect. Don't get too crazy about editing, more editing, right? Just make sure whatever editor you use, that they keep your personality and they keep your interests as the forefront. You don't want them changing your voice, right? Your voice as a writer is important. And then again, distribution. You're going to be promoting and they're going to be promoting. So what I'm going to do is go to the platform real quick, and we're going to walk through a couple of things. I'm going to stop sharing here, open up the platform, and walk through. And you're going to have an assignment to set up your own account. Now, we'll tell you that Kindle Direct. There you go. All right, so let me share with this right here. Boom. Anybody can go to this page and get this information, but I'm going to walk you through this process, and then we'll be wrapping up for the night. All right.
Okay, so the hard part is done, right? Not so fast. I mean, you knew what you were doing when you were writing the book, but publishing it? That's not your thing. Yeah, and neither are writing query letters, finding an agent, and lots more. I mean, you're a storyteller, not a publisher. Reaching readers with your book has been a long-time dream of yours, along with quitting your day job. You know, the dream you kept seeing during those frequent naps while writing. But seriously, it shouldn't be this hard to fulfill that dream. Wouldn't it be great if there was an easy, clear, and free way? Well, Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing has exactly that. You write your book's description, because after all, you're the author, and you choose what categories your book will appear under in order to help your new readers find it easily. Again, it's your call. Everything from content to price is totally up to you. Also, did we mention your work appears in the Kindle store within about a day? Yeah, how great is that? Not years, months, or even weeks. Right next to all your favorite big-name authors. Available to readers worldwide. Plus, oh, did we forget to mention? It's completely free, and you get up to 70% royalties in your preferred currency. Hey, listen, you don't have to convince us your book deserves to be published. See, everyone now has a chance to publish independently, whether it's newly written work or it's been waiting on a shelf for years. That's right. Remember that first book you wrote years ago? The one that's been collecting dust on your hard drive? Yeah, that one. Well, now it will get an opportunity to see daylight. Or, readers. KDP also gives you access to real-time reports on your book sales. You can also create your own free author page on Amazon using Author Central. You've got a great story, and Kindle Direct Publishing is here to help you get it to your readers. Find out more at kdp.amazon.com.
All right, so hopefully you heard that well. And so here's where you land when you go to KDP, right? KDP.amazon.com, kdp.amazon.com. And here is a lot of information that is helpful and useful for you. Number one, self-publishing ebooks, paper books free, right? Get to the market in 72 hours or less. Make more money because you keep 70% of the royalties. You get instant worldwide distribution to these countries: Spain, Italy, Japan, Brazil, Mexico. And remember, I talked about AI earlier. Now you get your you get your English version done. You can tell the AI to create you a version in Japanese, Spanish, Italy, Italian, French, Spanish. You know, you can literally have an actual physical book done in those languages, right? And then KDP has what's called a lending library, which allows people who are members to lend to each other. So if they like a book, they can send it to somebody and say, hey, check this out, blah, 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 which gets your book to be more read along the way. And then, of course, depending on what you got set up, a Facebook account, Twitter, that kind of stuff, you can do all those things and send your message out. You control the rights and you set your own prices. That's another thing, right? You're making the decisions. Nobody else is making that decision. Now, they will tell you what it would cost to print. They will tell you what it costs to make, to send, but that's it. It will also suggest to you what the price should be. So all that is covered in the book, and you'll be able to get what's called author copies. This is huge, because all you pay for is the print of the book. So let's say it costs only $2.50 to make the book. Now, when you go sell the book on your own at one of these places, like up there in Waldorf, they have this like open thing that used to be at Circus City or whatever that was, where it's a community place where you can have a desk and maybe you can sell books and stuff right there. You can still sell it for $15, $20. And now you keep the rest. You only get, and you get, now you got a printer, a delivery system, and it's right there for you, right? Publish in digital and print format, which I already talked about. And then, of course, you can start now. Now, down here at the bottom, there are some other links, the Facebook link, the Twitter. In those communities are people who will give you up to the minute information for free. They just love sharing information. Then we have this how to make money, where you get your book actually seen and they help you share your book more. So that's another thing where they select it and put it out there. And then you have the Kindle community, and then Create Space is no longer useful, but it'll give you information on how an indie, which is what you would be called an independent book publisher, what their life is about. And then you got all this other here, popular content, business and investing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, where if you're doing nonfiction, you can click on that and it tells you exactly what you need to do. And it gives you marketing information, community information, reports, and then of course the bookshelf. Let me go ahead and sign in. And what I like you to do right now is go ahead and set up. All right, what's going on? I should automatically get my stuff in there. Let me go back here to the other page. What I'd like you to do is set up your own program. I don't remember my password. Right, your story course at Gmail. I hope it remembers me for me. Oh my goodness. I don't want that page. Right, your story course at Gmail. I think I know it. If this doesn't work, I'll take a break and then come back. Oh, we already at 8:23. Let's try this. I hope it works. Let's see. Nope. Dang it. For some reason, this updated thing. Let me find my password. Help me. Quickly, quickly, quickly. All right, I don't want to waste your time, so let me stop right here, stop sharing. Let me figure that out. But questions you have about KDP at all? Any questions you have?
No.
No, so that's our assignment this week is to keep writing, but
Yeah.
also sign up for our
Yeah, I would like for you to sign up so you can get your account ready to go.
Okay.
Right? And then that way, oh yeah, okay. I had to send for a one-time password, so it should be here right quick here.
Oh, probably because you're not on your own server.
Yeah, I know it does that sometime. And 7, 8, 7, 8. Okay, should work. And then they have this double thing here. So all right. Do apologize for this delay. Should be cool. And we're in. Okay. All right. Yeah, great. I need to update that. Okay, so let me share my screen. And you're going to be setting up your own account. I want to go through some things so you would be, clear about it. All right. So once you get in here, this is what I showed you earlier. You're going to say it's going to have this, right? They're talking about printing costs is changing as of June 19th, which is okay. You can run a one-time bulk list price update to your paperback or hardcover. You'll figure that out as you go, but it just tells you they're trying to help with the people that don't have any royalties with their book, right? And then right here, create, manage, and publish. Okay, create from a series. You can create just one book. So you'll tell it, I want to create a book, right? Then they have this new thing called Vela Stories, which is an actual separate type of Kindle system that will that allows you to write books as well. I have not used it. It's new, but I will say in the next 30 days, I'll probably use it once, this summer, right? So you go here and you just say, create a book, boom, right? And it tells you all the different things about setups, formatting, etc. And what you want to do is you want to say, oh, okay, I need to know like which book do I want? What size do I want? Right? And it gives you all of this cool information for free. You don't have to spend money learning about all this stuff. Okay. It tells you about getting proof copies, author copies, how to set up your bookshelf, all this stuff. And then on the left over here, you got all kind of cool stuff in reference to hardcovers, soft cover, whatever it is that you want to know about creating your book, right? And so once you hit this button, it says, what would you like to create? And you pick the option. I want a Kindle or a paperback. For this purpose, I want to say paperback, right? And right off the bat, it gives you a very walkable system inside their platform. You pick the language. Now, let's go about book title. Until you publish, you can use whatever book title you want. Once you publish, and that means you push the button that says published into the world, now you can't change that cover. You can't change that title. You can create a new title with the same information, but you cannot change that title because that title and that ISBN number are now linked for life. Okay. You can have a subtitle if you choose to. If you saw on the front page, they actually have it set up where they'll automatically set up series. Because here's what happens with books online. We found that when you have a series of books, you build a community faster. So if you had a book about this relationship, you might tell one part of it, stop, and then tell the next part of it, stop, and then tell the next part of it, and stop, or add a twist here and there, and now come up with a series. Think of Harry Potter, right? All those 8 different ones, okay? And then, of course, if it's a new edition, then it's a new edition, right? It gives you also the ability to add a few people. So let's say you co-author with some people or other people contributed, then you can put their names in here and put their contribution. And they give you a couple of things: editor, narrator, photographer, contributions by, right? And so you can actually do a generic contribution by and add their information in here. And then you just add another name. You heard him say in the video intro, write a description. All right, this is a book summary. Now, there are some very specific things about a book summary. So in Fiverr, you can find somebody that will do a book summary for you. What I want you to do is look in your own library and look at what their summary is. Then take that knowledge and create your own book summary. Now, you don't have a full book, you have a story. I want you to take and summarize your story as if it was the actual book summary, okay? That's going to be part of your assignment. Because next week when we come together, we're going to take all this stuff and put it in here for real. I'm going to walk through and create a book all the way through so that we can have it in our hands by the last day of class. Now, right here, I own copyright and hold necessary publishing, right? Choose the option if your book is under copyright and you hold the necessary rights. It says, or it's in public domain. Public domain means that anybody and everybody has access to it. You just threw it out to the public and say, hey guys, enjoy, right? Which you could, you have both options. They give you up to 7 keywords, which you could use. And what do keywords do? Keywords help people find your book in the plethora of books out there. 320 something thousand books are published every year. It's a lot.
Mhm.
Self-publishing is even more because it's at the push of a button. So you got to stand out, and there are some things that help you do that. Categories, they give you a list of categories that you could choose from. Again, fiction, nonfiction, whether it's a real story or if it's not a real story, right? Fiction is just made up. Nonfiction is just serious, it's real, right? Juvenile fiction, et cetera, right? So what you do, the drop down menu gives you some more categories. African American, action, Amish, right? Mennonite, all kind of cool stuff. Fantasy, family, holiday, LGBTQ, religion, satire, superhero, you name it, it's pretty much in there. And if you have low content books like a journal, only a few pages, then you got to tell it, hey, this is classified as low content. Large print, maybe you have a fixed 20 font because you write in a book for people that have visual issues with their eyes. So you got to tell them that. And then does it have adult content? I help people with erotica. So because I do that because I write poetry, and some of my poetry is erotica poetry, I have to always put whether or not it's appropriate for people 18 and over. Okay. And then you save it and you do that. Then you go to the paper content. So because I didn't put anything in here, it might stop me. Let me see. Yeah, it says please fix these things before you can move on, right? So I'm just gonna put some things in here. And just to get it going so you can see how it works. And what I like about this is it only tells you like where the issues are, right? So where the issues are. And 2018, no. Okay. Boom. You can always come back and fix any of this and change any of this until you push the word publish. And here's what I wanted to come back to. Deborah, in your question about the assigning or getting. You can get it signed, you get it free. The only difference about free is with KDP, they don't want you to try to sell your book on another platform with their ISBN. So you will still have to buy a separate ISBN and republish the book with in a different platform. So this comes down to, people ask this question right here. Well, what if the title? Titles are not, you cannot copyright a title. You could trademark a title, but you can't copyright a title. Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He trademarked that. So you can't use that in the format Rich Dad, Poor Dad together in the sentence. And he also registered the colors, purple, black, gold. You can't use those 3 combinations on a book cover because he wanted something to be like you see it from afar and you know what it is. Just like if you see a Pepsi-Cola truck or you see a Coca-Cola truck or you see Nike swoosh, you know it's Nike right off the bat. He did that so his book would be known that way. You get to do that too, right? But let's say I own my own, then you have to put it in. And in this case, they say, hey, we'll give you one. Then you can maybe set the date or maybe not. And this is the last part, bleed or not bleed in book trim. So here, they give you book trim sizes. And this is the size that the book is going to be actually printed, okay? So when you think about this, you got to make sure you're like, hey, you know what? I want a different size. And then look into what is the best comparable size for your market. And then you go ahead and you pick it. If you wanted like a regular page size, workbook size, 8.5 by 11, right? Now, what I will tell you is that you have to define it in whether inches or centimeters. It doesn't give you a lot of other options, okay? And then you just pick whichever one. And what's cool here is if you're needing a template to work from, you can go to them. KDP provides templates for all your book sizes, and you can download the template and then take your writing and put it into the template. I'm going to demonstrate that next week when we get together. All right. So, questions that you may have. All right. Here's one thing that comes up. When you do the KDP, they're going to ask you for your sales information and your banking information. The reason why is because they are expecting you to sell books. So you got to set up your whole like thing in the background. What I tell my students is you might want to use like, if you got like a gift card or something, or like a debit card, you know, you may not want to attach it to anything major as far as that's concerned, but it's up to you. I now have it on my major accounts because I use it all the time, right? But you can make that choice your own way. You make that decision. But you know, that's something that you're gonna see when you're setting up your account. Now, here's the thing. You do not have to do it when you first set it up. You do have to have it ready when you push publish. So when you get ready to publish your book, that stuff has to be in there. Right now, you can set it all up and do all the stuff I just showed you without having that part done while you do your research and vetting. But it's the same. It's just sales information, and you got to be able to have some way that people can transact business, and that's what they want. Okay? Any questions?
By the end of class, like of the like real class, like the real last class, we're supposed to be at a point where we're gonna publish a book.
I'm going to publish a book for you. I will be taking your stories next week, along with collections from other classes, and creating a book. I'm going to show you the path, the process, demonstrate it. I'm going to send you the file, and you're going to do it yourself with your story as the main story, with your cover as the main cover. And we're all going to push the button together, but you're going to see a book come to you with all the stories in it, with your cover, your name. You will be published in this class. We do it as a learning opportunity.
Okay.
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 So as long as you follow the process, you're going to have two things. You're going to have the one that we collectively do and the one that you did yourself, because you're going to follow and do it as I do it.
Okay. Okay. And then we can delete that one because we don't really want to sell.
Here's the thing. It'll be in there and you don't never have to sell it or anything. It just has to be in there.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So
that doesn't mean it'll like show up and people are going to buy this like random
No.
word.
I make it where it's random and it has a CSM disclosure on there, and it says this is created for CSM. These student books, student stories, it's for education purposes only. It's a little disclosure that I've been doing this since 2016 with CSM.
Okay. And what's our last day of class? Is it
the 8th, I believe.
The 8th of June?
I think so. That's what I
fast?
have. Let me double check. I sent the email. I have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure it's not the 1st.
Yeah. Okay.
The last day is the 15th. I think the 8th is like a skip day or something like that.
Oh, because of the holiday? There's a holiday next week.
Well, next week's Memorial Day, but that's on Monday.
Oh, that's on Monday. Yeah, we should be fine.
And
Um,
okay, so we have 3 more classes. That's because it's a
yeah, we
6.
have 3 more classes. We got 1, 2,
Okay.
3 to the
So just
15th.
15. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. And then I think some of my next questions are like, so should I wait until I have written the book? Like I kind of have in my head a goal of like I kind of said, okay, it'll be done when I hit like 70,000 words.
Uh, okay.
Do I wait till then to find an editor when it's like done?
Okay. Yeah. Well,
Okay.
let me say it like this. You should be vetting the editor now and finding out and telling the editor, look, I plan to have this huge novel of
Is that
70,000 words because that's a lot. People are not doing big books like that anymore, except for the ones you see like here at the airport and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
a lot of people are doing short books that people can read like 1 to 2 days. They're in and
Okay.
they're out, and they do multiple books, right? That's why the series is working so well because they read all of your books. If they like the first one, they're going to buy all the rest of them.
Right. Okay.
And there's a young lady that makes $1 million, over $1 million with these short little books of 60 to 100 pages every book. It's a mystery. I got to get her name and I'll put her in the, I'll put a YouTube to her. I watched one of her presentations before because I try to stay up on what the new cool stuff is. And she was one of the people that they interviewed. And she
Okay.
talked about making money with KDP books. See, everybody that takes this class is not trying to make money. They're just trying to publish their story. And then they
Right.
want to make money if it comes. But some of them, I had a person in this class who wanted to tell the family secret about owning slaves down in Southern Maryland. But she's not published. She published a book to be released after her death.
Oh, wow. That's a big secret.
Yeah,
Um,
she's a very known person in the Southern Maryland area. And she felt that it would stir up some stuff while she's alive, but she didn't care that it stirs up stuff after she died.
I was gonna say, does she not have any grandchildren or anybody else? That's like someone is gonna be like,
You
really,
gotta hear her
Grandma?
tell a story. You gotta hear her tell a story because she tells a very compelling story about this whole thing. So I was like, okay,
Oh man,
everybody got their own stuff. So
we all do, isn't that true?
all right, well, I don't want to
Um,
keep you farther than what you have. If you want to go, go. But if you have questions, I'll stay and answer the questions. Thank you
okay, I have
so much,
4.
everybody, for coming. You'll get the recording, you'll get the follow-up email, and it'll have links and things of that nature that we covered today with your assignment.
Okay.
All right, Deborah. Go ahead, Courtney. You have more questions?
So because I'm writing it in a Google Doc and it's like huge and the print's all big, like in a normal size book, like I don't want to write this ginormous novel. Like
Here's
I
what I
think
would tell you to
scared
do.
of that. Like, so how do I know how many pages or how many words are on a page of like a 6x9 book?
Yeah, okay, so there are some standard numbers and you can Google them.
Okay.
What I would do though is go ahead and get the formatted book from Kindle, download it in the 6x9. They're going to give you multiple versions, one with the stuff already in line and table of contents and everything in place. And then they're going to give you one without it, right? Pick whichever
Yeah.
one you feel comfortable with because it's going to be a template. You just go past the pages that you're not working with yet and get to the open page and then copy and paste all your stuff into that one document and do it at a 12-point font.
Okay.
12 is about where everybody's okay at. 14 is a little big, 10 is too small. 11 is okay, but 12 has been the sweet spot. Okay?
Okay.
Once you do that, because it's set up as a Word document, down at the bottom on the left-hand page, you'll be able to see exactly how many how many words it is, and you'll be able to tell the page number. right? So then that'll give you a real good clue where you are in the whole scope of everything. Because what
Okay.
you might want to do is you say, you know what, I'm going to end this as a series right here. And I'm going to now start the second book.
Okay.
You see?
Yes.
Because let's say you got 60,000 and you're like, you know what? That's a lot. I'm gonna go up to 30 something thousand. Then I'm gonna cut it, put a little epilogue in there, put a little future casting in there, and boom, and then set up the next one. That might
Okay.
be one way to do it.
Okay.
All right. So I couldn't um well, is there anything else?
No, no. I was just curious about that. That's why I'm like, should I have people read it? Am I like over like am
Let
I
them read it. Yeah,
disturbed?
yeah. No, you're
Like,
not over nothing. Um it's two things. Like if you got an editor that you think will work with you along the way, go for it. It's no problem. It's just that they take them as they when they do it as business, they take it as a project. They don't do like, oh, I'm gonna do a little bit here and a little bit there. They like I got Courtney's project, I'm working on her project. That's been my experience. So if you got some people, like I had a friend named Laura Reddick, she was a typist or whatever at church. And I was like, hey, Laura, could you type this up for me? Because I had written it out by hand. So she did that. Then I had Miss Artist, who was a third grade English teacher. And I was like, hey, can you read over my stuff and kind of, make some changes or whatever? And she said, oh, I do editing on the side. I'm an editor at night. I was
nice.
like, oh, Eureka. So my first one was Felicia Blow Artist. She was my editor. Now she has her own whole business and everything in Texas. You know what I mean? But she's more expensive than I want to pay now. But she did do my first one.
That's awesome. You're like, I had this as my editor and she's famous now.
Yeah, she's good. So, but also when I have clients who want somebody that's high end, I introduced them to her, Kelly Notoris. Kelly Notoris used to work for Penguin Press
Oh wow.
and New York something. And she left them to start her own. And now she works with Reed Tracy also at Hay House. And she does her own thing. But I'm part of her affiliate group. And so when people want that high end, I can send them to her. And if she does business with them, I get a 15% royalty.
Oh nice. Okay. Okay. I'll be ready for them soon.
You were going to be ready. Now you have done a lot of work. When I was reading your story, I would get people to read that story right now because it's a nice flow to that story. And what I was going to say to you is because there's this desire for the animals, what's it called?
Rescue group.
Huh?
Like hospice
The
rescue.
hospice rescue, right?
Mhm.
You might want to look at how you can tie that story into your story. Maybe
Okay.
a rescue dog. She went to the hospital for overdose and somehow she kind of got to the dog.
Yeah.
Because now you could take a cause or a mission and kind of frame it out along the way, where that would be really cool if all the animal rescue missions purchased your book, because when they do, kind of like you buy a pair of shoes, we give you a pair of shoes kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? Where you can put a cause around it or a mission around it. And now when people buy your book, they rescue a dog or something like that, or they pay for a hospital bill, or,
Yeah, no, it donates to like
so that the
a
thing,
rescue.
the main thing that you're really trying to do in the future, right? Because
Right.
you want to retire and have this space and go to Florida, whatever. That you might want to start working on that part now with the book. Now, this is giving advice, which is another form of mentorship, not coaching. So I'm not coaching you, I'm mentoring, right?
Okay.
And it's a suggestion, but I think it's one of those suggestions you might want to think about and look at how that might relate to where you're trying to go.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like that actually a lot. Yeah.
See, my cause is I want people to be happy at work and in life. I worked so many years with people unhappy, mad at the world, and can't wait till Friday. I don't have that. Mondays are cool. I just get excited about Mondays, just like Fridays. Now there are some Fridays I'm like, yeah, it's Friday, woohoo. But you know, I'm cool because the work I do is I've crafted my life around my work, like what I came to the earth to do.
Yeah.
And I help people discover their tag, their talent, their ability, their gift, and put it to work in the earth. And by doing so, they're happier people. In my opinion, I've seen them like get excited about life. I've even seen people who kind of recharged for their whole like living because they found that thing that they really feel they can do. And once they see it, the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
There is no limit really, except the one we put on ourselves.
Yeah. No, that's super important. I almost think writing has like helped so much just these past couple weeks because so I homeschool the kids, which is an
A lot.
yeah, it's crazy. And it's a
Yeah.
test of patience all the time. But I feel like now that I'm writing and I have an outlet and I can do that and I sort of get it out in the morning, and I feel like by the time they're up and it's time to do school and get ready for all of this, I've just had a lot more patience and even like joy in what I do with them because I'm doing something for myself.
Yes. So important. It's what they say, car. I can't think of the word. It's another heart word, right?
Cathartic?
Cart,
Sorry.
Cardic. Say it again.
Cathartic?
Cathartic. That's what I was looking for. Cathartic. I couldn't catch the T.
Yeah.
Cathartic. I was like Carter G. Woodson. No, that's not it. Cathartic, right? Because it's like your heart now has had time to chill. You have focused on you a little bit more. Marissa Peer talks about that. She talks about we have to find ourselves in this crazy world that we live in because it's all about this all the time. You wake up and you're on instantly. Mom, you don't have time to be somebody else. When did you get the time to just chill and be Courtney or
Really?
Chaz or Dwayne, right? I got off a plane and came to do this.
You're
I
still
don't
at
know
the
what I was thinking. I don't know what. I didn't
what
want to
is
cancel class, and I definitely, it was wild. I'm like, I got 17 minutes to go from here to there, and I got to be on. So, and here we are, right? But we did it.
yeah. You're more like these people better show the F up this week.
No,
Exactly. I'm here because he's here. I said, oh, Mr. Ross off the plane, he's still showing up. Oh, I'll be there. I'll be listening in, but I'll be there. He's not about to beat me out of this.
It's
oh,
so
yeah, I
true.
was like, wow. And when I first got here, I was like, ain't nobody here again 2 weeks in a row. Did I say something wrong? And then boop, 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 everybody started coming in. I was like, okay. Some people just dropped out and didn't tell me.
Yeah, there's quite a few names on the list that aren't in.
It was 7 names, I think. I think it was 7.
Yeah.
Only like 5 showed up on the first day, and then that's it. There's 3 of you guys have been here. So, but I'm here. I do this. If even only one person show up, I'm here. So I'm not,
Yeah.
I don't, that's just what I do. That's my agreement with them. Like they have a 3-person drop rule, but I violate that rule. I tell them, nope, I'm still doing it, even if it's 3. And they're like, oh, okay. Well, we'll still pay you, but we got to pay you less. Okay, no problem. I said, because I've had people want to take this class twice, and because of other people, they couldn't. And I was like, just because those people didn't show up, you should still get what you need. So it's cool. Well,
Yeah.
That's
Glad.
me. Have a good night. I'm gonna end the recording. I didn't realize it was